Hi there. So I'm just gonna make another 10-minute video and share it on Instagram. And I also did some stories on there and a couple of really interesting posts during the week that just arose from thinking about art and living as art, living life as art, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to publish ideas and thoughts basically in real time through this medium. And it's just been an eye opener to understand that I can do that through just these videos. I don't need to wait through some sort of process of editors and publishing and typeface and exhibitions in a gallery space and all these types of things. I mean, ideas are what really interests me a lot, and creative thinking as well. And I see those as art practices. And I also see the idea and the practice of meditation as a very fertile and generative activity and action that we can take in our lives to really bring forth art as life and bring um, artistic thinking and creative thinking essentially into our lives. And I just see a lot of potential with a kind of mind frame or mindset or just an understanding of life being art. And it's also something that I'm not super, what do I want to say, heavy about. I mean, I understand that a lot of times art is kind of seen as a game or it's kind of play. And I get that, and life can be that as well. But there's also lots of times when art is more sacred or it's versatile, right? It varies, it's malleable. It's the kind of thing that it's why art gets discussed about of what art is and what it can be and so forth. And my little kind of section of doing art as life tries to cover basically all life. It's kind of like a version of understanding that your whole life can be art. And when that's the case, it starts to become just for examples from my life. For example, how I'm doing it, and there's lots of different ways you could do it, of course. But I'm also kind of a conventional artist that I like conventional art. I like music. I like sculpture. I like painting. I like videos. I grew up with those things, and so I'm still very much um, connected to the idea of making those types of things. And it's probably why I like making these videos on Instagram. Um, but it's interesting that as the day goes through, maybe I see a snapshot of something that's interesting. I was doing text on pictures of the sky and doing those mostly on Instagram with just short kind of sayings or phrases that were kind of supposed to be kind of thought provoking in a kind of positive way. And but like I put on one of my stories that I was making dinner and I was boiling water for that. And when I was done, the water was still boiling, and so I took some video of it, and that was reminiscent of some video work that I had done in the mid 2000s, and it was I called that group of work Surface Series, and it dealt with phenomenology and perceptual studies. But in this sense, I just took about a minute, because I know that Instagram, you have to do a minute or less of video. And I just thought of sharing, that idea, that feeling or that experience of an idea. And sometimes you can get that across in a minute or less. You don't need to make a video that's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that makes me, and this is open for thought. I don't have really like a hard line um, thought on this, but I watched The Artist is Present recently with Marina Abramovich, and I was just thinking, why did it have to be for 3 months just to jog your memory, that is where she was uh, present in a gallery and sat opposite folks who would just come in and sit down and look her in the eyes, essentially, and experience her living presence, I guess, as being with another being, another person, rather. And It reminded me of a piece that I did when I was in college, and it was like where I had people line up, and each person got another person, and I just said, look at this person in the eyes for 30 seconds, and um, and that was it. That was the piece, and um, so I saw a connection. I think maybe that's why I like Marina's piece so much, but also because I know she's into endurance and stamina, and that becomes interesting. So I'm just kind of interested in right now the availability of reaching an audience. I kind of shy away from the ideas of audience, but just being able to share your ideas with, I guess it is kind of an audience that I want to relate these ideas and, the boiling water, rather than having to do like a 5 or 6 minute video to kind of express the experience of the aesthetic appeal or stimulation of just looking at the water itself boiling as something that's kind of, cool to look at, essentially. It doesn't have to really be anything more complicated than that in this instance. And, I kind of get that across in a minute. And it's interesting to think of not just an idea, but the experience of an idea. And in that sense, I guess duration comes into play. And I thought of Marina's piece, how it was the the run of a maybe a typical show, and that was in MoMA, of how long a show is up for. So for the 3 months that maybe she felt like she had to show up every day. Um, but for myself, I don't have that kind of um, want to do something like that right now. But I do look for ways to express ideas in a shorter term. I really appreciate um, having the 10 minutes on here. That really opens things up, and you're able to, it's almost like a video podcast, or it's like a video blog, but it's connected to the feed that you have going on Instagram. And it's just interesting for me to think about those things and to think about ways to really connect with people. I guess connecting with people is part of what I want to do, and it deals with a lot of conceptual ideas, but it also just has to do with promoting the idea of living your life as art. And I do like little promotions for my projects that I've done. I have my book now called The Art Flame, which I talk about a lot because it was really cool to write a book. And, I've done a lot of different things, and my practice becomes this thing of really doing a lot of different things, doing conceptual work, doing posts on Instagram, doing posting on SoundCloud, doing traditional guitar and vocals, playing at an open mic, then doing a poetry reading at that open mic, then going the next night to a poetry reading and doing conceptual artwork and visualizations and quasi meditations, along with also conventional poetry reading, and all the while looking at doing publishing, writing in an anthology locally, but also playing songs with guitars and vocals that are original songs of mine, also working on a canvas and drawing on that canvas to be exhibited at some point potentially in a gallery, and then also thinking about new ways of experiencing art, just using social media, just living my life, um, and just finding ways of balance, I guess, and also kind of just breaking things apart gently and allowing things to fly, allowing just the birds and the butterflies to fly out, and just looking for joy in things, and allowing ideas to open up and blossom and bloom, and letting the flame bloom. So anyways, it's all peace to you, and I hope you've gotten something out of this video. I really enjoy getting the thoughts out of my head. That's one of the biggest things, and sharing them in the world, and not being afraid to just share uh, you know, the beauty of ideas and truth. All right, take care. See you on the flip side. Bye now.